going to the land of water, Naruto yelled. A visibly shaking clone of Konohamaru chuckled nervously, scratching the back of his head. Well, like I said, we found that village you sent us to help, and when we got there, that problem was already solved. Boruto wasn't very careful about hiding his tracks, and from questioning the village leader we discovered that it was him that helped them, Konohamaru explained, trying to calm down his older surrogate brother. The village leader said that Boruto had mentioned he wanted to travel the world, and mentioned he wanted to go to the land of water. Naruto stood suddenly and began to pace the Hokage's rather small office. In the process, he spilled a small cup of instant ramen he had been eating. To Konohamaru, that spoke volumes as to the Hokage's worries. Naruto never wasted ramen. It was sacrilege, blasphemy. The original and his team are currently en route to the land of water as we speak, Konohamaru's clone said, trying to reassure him. They will find Boruto. He was their friend, their teammate. Sarada especially, since she and Boruto had been close friends since childhood, Konohamaru thought. Naruto still paced, a deep brown on his lips. Sarada has her Sharingan, and Mitsuki has his snake things. I'm sure they'll find him no problem, Konohamaru declared, a confident smile adorning his features. He held his fist aloft with his thumbs up. It didn't appear to have any effect on the Hokage's mood. Cat, Naruto demanded. Before Konohamaru could question Naruto's sanity, a figure emerged from a shadowy corner of the room, causing his heart to flutter in surprise. He was a tall man with spiky brown hair that hung loose outside of his animal mask. A cat, with 2 red crescent moons and 4 green claw marks, 2 above the eye and 2 below. He wore the standard issue wardrobe of the Anbu, black slacks, shirt, gloves, and boots, with the dull gray jacket and vambraces. Hokage, sir, the Anbu said, standing at attention, awaiting his orders. Remove your mask. Konohamaru memorized his features. He will rendezvous with you in the land of water, Naruto instructed. The Anbu nodded once before reaching up and removing his mask, revealing pale skin and bland features with dull black eyes. This is Yamato, Naruto instructed. Continue searching for Boruto in the land of water. He will find you. Konohamaru nodded, lifting his arms to form the hand seal that would release the clone. Wait, Naruto said. The land of water has had some unrest these past few years. Mercenaries taking advantage of the peace to do jobs that the hidden villages have refused to take. Be careful, and make sure Boruto is safe. Don't worry, we'll find him, Konohamaru reassured. Nodding to Yamato, the clone released itself, transferring its memories to the original, who was currently arguing with the ship's captain about passage to the land of water. Turning his attention to his former team captain, Naruto sighed. You're the only one I trust for this, Yamato. Good luck, he said. Yamato smirked knowingly. His former may put up a strong front, but inside he was as soft as any father was for their child's safety. I'll find Boruto, don't worry. He can't be much worse than you as a kid, right? Yamato said with a laugh, placing a reassuring hand on Naruto's shoulder. The two shared a nod before Yamato left the office, using the door since he was no longer an Anbu. Outside, he nearly stumbled as he turned and met face to face the very thunderous-looking wife of the Hokage. Trailing behind her was a small girl with a trembling chin and wide, teary eyes. Nodding in respect, Yamato shuffled out of the Hokage's office with haste. No one wanted to be present when a wife chewed up and spat back out her husband, doubly more so when it was the Hokage and his wife. Naruto looked up, a smile forming as he saw it was Hinata and Himawari would come to see him. One look at his wife's and daughter's faces wiped the smirk off his face. Clearly they had heard the last discussion he had with Konohamaru and Yamato. Hinata crossed her arms. I thought you said you had everything under control, she said firmly. Naruto could tell she was upset. Sometimes he really missed the nervous, shy girl she was when they first fell in love. That Hinata was never this scary. I do, Naruto corrected himself. Yamato is the one of the best Anbu agents we have. One of the most powerful too. If he can handle me and Kurama, he can handle Boruto. Kurama scoffed instantly at his vessel's comment. No puny human could handle the Nine Tails. You said he would be found within a week. You said there was no way he could get outside of the Hidden Leaf's border, let alone the Land of Fires, Hinata continued on. Are you sure I said that? Naruto asked with a nervous laugh. From Hinata's narrowed brow and tight frown, she didn't think it was that funny. Daddy, Himawari called with a sniff. She looked up at Naruto and Hinata, unshed tears in her green eyes. She was wearing one of Boruto's black and red jackets, clutching it tightly. Of all the people affected by Boruto's disappearance, she was the most affected. Where did brother go? Why did he run away? Naruto practically leapt over his desk. He picked up his daughter and held her close, like he did when she was younger. Though Himawari was only 10, she was old enough to understand what had happened to her brother. Don't worry, Hima, Naruto cooed. Boruto will come back, you can count on it. Ram and I will go ourselves if we have to. I never go back on my word, remember? Himawari sniffed and wiped away her tears on her brother's jacket sleeve. Hinata smiled. She couldn't stay mad at Naruto. Hey, Naruto whispered, his voice low and quiet so Hinata couldn't hear him. How about I teach you a few things? That way, when he does get back, you can beat him up. Teach him a lesson, I mean. Himawari beamed. Ever since she awakened her Byakugan, she had become the pride and joy of the Hyuga clan, and one of the best students the academy had ever seen. She was quickly becoming as much as a prodigy as her brother. Within a few eager nods, she agreed. Satisfied that his daughter would be okay, Naruto let her down. Turning his attention back to Hinata, he mulled over a few options in his head. Though he could tell her that she was placated, for now it was best to please her. I'll assign an Onbu watch in every town on the coast, and I'll ask if the Land of Hot Water would keep a watch on their coast as well. I'm sure Bee and Yuki would be willing to watch out for Boruto in the Land of Lightning for us as well, Naruto said. What about sending a message to the Hidden Mist? Hinata asked. Though she had a small, pleased smile on her lips, she always got her way when she really wanted it. Naruto frowned and thought. The Hidden Mist has their hands full with the civil unrest they've been facing lately, but I'll send a personal message to Chojuro and ask him to be on the lookout. I need to inform him of Konohamaru and Yamato's presence in his country anyway, he said. Hinata nodded, pleased with the outcome. Come on, Himawari, let's go get a cinnamon roll. Your dad needs to work, she said, holding out her hand. Naruto waved goodbye to his wife and daughter, before returning to the mountains of paperwork looming over his desk on all sides. He groaned as he realized several scrolls were stained with ramen. The harsh whip of a brush came down the sensitive flesh of the back of Boruto's hand. No, 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 the Uzumaki yelled. This character is all wrong. Boruto sighed. He decided that sealing jutsu was simply not his favorite discipline. Long sessions of reading over archaic characters and messy paintings on scrolls left him drained, physically and mentally after each lesson. And yet, he couldn't deny that the lessons were, for once, useful. The first day he had learned how to seal items into scrolls. It was elementary, so easy he could even pick it up after a single day of instruction. He went home that night, unpacked his belongings, and sealed them all in a scroll he had been given by one of his classmates. Now he had significantly less things to carry on his journey, and the best part was that even if he got the scroll wet, the chakra-enhanced ink wouldn't smudge, meaning the seal would remain intact. His third lesson had been making explosive tags. Now that was fun. If he ever went back to the Hidden Leaf, he was going to plaster his dad's face in the Okage monument with the tags. His current lesson, on the other hand, was a pain. It was a simple seal, according to the Uzumaki. He and his classmates thought otherwise. It revolved around preparing a scroll that would seal an incoming attack of a specific element, useful for defending oneself, or in Boruto's case, attacking. He favored the water style, and the main weakness of the element was that if there wasn't a natural source of water nearby, the user was forced to generate their own with chakra. That was taxing. Having a seal that carried a large amount of water would be invaluable. The only problem was it was tedious. Layer upon layer of ink that was enchanted with his own chakra. The slightest mistake, and boom, his scroll would explode into scraps of paper and pulp. With a shaky hand, Boruto carefully corrected the character that he had just drawn. It was his 38th attempt at this particular seal. Thankfully, nothing seemed to go wrong. Channeling his chakra into it, the seal glowed blue for a moment before fading back to black. Excellent, Akame explained. Now all you need to do is inscribe the character for the element you want to seal in the middle. Boruto sighed in relief, his shoulders visibly relaxing. He didn't know how much more he could take. The Uzumaki had taken a liking to him, as the others called it. She was determined to teach the errant son of the Hokage his birthright that his father never received. Carefully drawing the character for water, Boruto pressed his index finger to the ink and channeled chakra into the entire seal. Sealing jutsu, water seal, he whispered. The entire scroll visibly glowed blue before fading to black. Well done, the Uzumaki praised, patting his back reassuringly. Some of the other students had stopped to watch him and gave him nods of encouragement and acknowledgement. If you don't mind, Uzumaki, I'd like to take a break, Boruto asked respectfully. Certainly, dear, you've earned it. I'll just have to crack down on these slackers, Akame declared, looking around the room for her next victim. or student. Rolling up his scroll and stashing it in one of his pouches on his belt, Boruto hastily retreated outside the small academy before the Uzumaki could change her mind. Outside, the villagers went about the same routine they did every day: find food and water, clear out the ruins, recover their culture, and lost healing techniques. Seeing several burly crimson-haired men struggling to lift a large stone pillar off a crumbled house, Boruto weaved a few hand seals. A cloud of smoke surrounded him, and when it cleared where once there was only one, now there were 7. Boruto smiled, quite pleased with himself. Before, he had only been able to make at most 4 shadow clones. Now he could make 6. He chalked his new and improved chakra reserves up to his nightly practice of forming, dispelling, and reforming the Rasengan. "Alright guys, help them out," Boruto declared, pointing at the struggling men. The clones nodded and took off, rushing to their aid. With Boruto's help, they managed to remove the pillar and clear the house for searching. Deciding he could do more good, Boruto sent his clones out to help with anything in the village. The villagers welcomed the help with open arms and warm smiles. Sighing wearily, Boruto made his way to what he had dubbed his corner of the village. His temporary residence was now on the outskirts of the village. Clearly one of the new houses that had been constructed on top of the old dilapidated ruins. It was nice, really nice. No neighbors, no one to bother him. The river bent just before his house, creating a tiny inlet of calm water, which proved to be invaluable for his planned journey. The idea had come to him as he pondered his situation. The Uzumaki clan had precious few boats, not ships, boats, that they could spare. While he hadn't asked the Uzumaki, he was certain that they wouldn't part with one. Not that it was a problem really, he didn't know how to sail. The boats, dinghies, really weren't even fit to sail on the open ocean. One rogue wave and they'd sink. They were made for traveling to and from the Land of Fire, across the calm waters of the bay. So he was stuck until he could develop the chakra reserves necessary to run the entire distance to the Land of Water. Therefore, his morning routine of going through the gentle fist stances and forms had changed. Instead of performing them on land, he performed them in water. It had the added benefit of honing his chakra skill. He had to focus on keeping afloat, and at the same time, focusing on pushing chakra into his gentle fist forms. 2 birds with 1 stone. By some unknown sixth sense, Boruto felt an object fall behind him and plunge into the water. He still yelped like a girl when a tendril of cold water splashed onto his foot. He turned and glared at Kohaku, with a few small pebbles in his hand. "Not bad, kid. Forms can only get you so far, though. How about a real spar?" Kohaku said, haughtily. It was an arrogance born of confidence in one's abilities. "Sure," Boruto said with a smile. Hand-to-hand combat was one area where he knew he excelled in. Kohaku didn't stand a chance. The redhead raised a brow when Boruto didn't move from his spot. Boruto just smiled and held up his hand, gesturing with 2 fingers for him to join him on the water. Kohaku jumped down, his feet causing ripples to explode across the water surface. He sunk down, lowering his center of gravity, and adopting a foreign stance which Boruto didn't recognize. Boruto smirked, inched forward, and took the first strike. A guarded open palm strike that Kohaku deflected with his forearm. He went with the flow, like his grandfather taught him, bringing up his other arm gracefully to caress Kohaku's exposed shoulder. He saw it coming, and leaned back out of the way, careful to not let himself be touched. Clearly, he knew that Boruto was a gentle fist practitioner. Even the smallest of touches was dangerous. Kohaku twirled, bringing the back of his fist up in a backhanded slap that left Boruto's cheeks smarting. Boruto was a dervish of palm strikes and pointed fingers, pressing forward against his opponent. Each time his strikes would close in on Kohaku, and each time Kohaku spun away in a whirling, circular motion that seemed to always place him inside Boruto's guard. After a few exchanges, Boruto could feel fresh bruises forming on his ribs, forearms, and thighs, and he had nothing to show for it. Kohaku was surprisingly slippery. Growling in thinly veiled frustration, Boruto took a few steps backwards to orient himself. Bending at the knees and waist, Boruto raised his right arm behind his back, and lowered his left arm below his waist. It resembled a mock blow. Kohaku inched forward, a cautious brow raised. Boruto took in a deep breath, his body tensing and his muscles coiling. 8 trigrams, Boruto declared through grit teeth, chakra surging through his arms and legs. Kohaku backpedaled wildly, trying to get out of range. 2 palms, Boruto surged forward, both his left and right palms thundering towards Kohaku. They struck him dead in the chest, heavy as rocks. 4 palms, Boruto whirled, striking with pointed fingers that struck Kohaku's shoulders and waist 2 each. Kohaku hissed in pain as the blows continued to rain down. 8 palms, Boruto hissed, feeling the strain in his shoulders and back. Without the Byakugan, his mastery of the gentle fist was incomplete. His blows were little more than chakra-enhanced strikes that rattled bones and tore muscles. He was incapable of blocking a person's chakra points, and that meant his form was off. Since his form was off, it strained his body. Kohaku weaved a series of hand seals. Water erupted from his feet, cascading outwards in large waves. Boruto yelped in surprise as his form was shattered, ending the chain of attacks that the Hyuga clan was famous for. Boruto struggled to channel his chakra into his feet to prevent him from sinking under the waves. "Hey!" Boruto yelled indignantly after the water cleared. "You said this was a spar, no ninjutsu." Kohaku smirked. "I said it was a spar. I never said we couldn't use jutsu," he said. Boruto growled, a sound very much fitting the source of the chakra scars on his cheeks. "Water style, water bullet jutsu." Spears of water hissed through the air as they left Boruto's lips. Kohaku dodged. His taijutsu was the same infuriating swirling pattern that invaded his gentle fist. Boruto channeled more chakra into the jutsu. Spears of water turned into long pillars that caused wakes to erupt across the surface of the water they stood on. Boruto changed his attack pattern, weaving hand seals even as he continued to spit water bullets. "Water style, great waterfall jutsu." Kohaku's eyes widened as Boruto performed the A-rank jutsu, something that should be far beyond the kid's capabilities. A torrential blast of water erupted from the river, almost as if the whole body of water was at Boruto's command. The river thundered towards Kohaku like a great sinuous serpent. Kohaku weaved seals, calling forth the riverbed. An earthen dome erupted and encased him, shielding him from the blunt force of the attack. When the water died down, he released his shield. Boruto charged forward, swinging open palm strikes at his opponent. Kohaku could tell that Boruto's strength was waning. He went on the offensive, whirling across the surface of the water like the whirlpools of his home. He struck Boruto cleanly in the chest, knocking him to the water surface. Kohaku watched as Boruto shuddered, and then turned into a pool of water. A hand shot out of the river and grasped his ankle tightly. Boruto smiled through the water as a sphere of liquid erupted and encased his opponent. He was running low on chakra. This attack would be his last. He watched as Kohaku visibly struggled against the watery prison that now held him fast. He was glaring at Boruto furiously, though Boruto knew he had taken a deep breath of air before being imprisoned. Boruto smirked arrogantly, and tipped his head in a direction further down the river. Kohaku looked up. Boruto was charging him, and there, in the palm of his hand, was a glowing orb of pure chakra, and emitting a high-pitched whir. Kohaku's eyes widened. "Rasengan!" Boruto yelled victoriously as he threw his arm forward, intending to shatter his water prison and deal the finishing blow. Kohaku's brows narrowed and his lips were drawn into a tight, thin line. He held his right arm out, palmed his blade, and braced it with his left arm. His palm glowed with chakra, and before Boruto could even blink, a single chain of pure chakra had erupted and pierced him through the chest. Instantly the water prison and Rasengan dissipated to nothing, and his chakra control failed. Boruto fell into the river helplessly. Boruto flailed in the water, and the knowledge needed to make his body swim seemed to evade his mind's grasp. He gasped, breathing in water, as a hand grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and hauled him out of the water. Sputtering and gasping for breath, Boruto spat back out the water he had inhaled, coughing harshly. "You alright, kid?" Kohaku asked. He didn't seem mad. In fact, he almost seemed pleased. "Yeah," Boruto gasped, still sputtering and coughing. "Good," Kohaku said with a decisive nod, hauling Boruto to the riverbank. I should apologize. I didn't come over here to fight you because you were practicing. I wanted to test you, make sure my grandmother wasn't wasting her time with you," he said sheepishly. Your grandmother?" Boruto asked, not understanding, as he patted his chest and checked for wounds. He winced a few times as he touched the bruises Kohaku had given him. "Yeah, the Uzumaki," he clarified. Boruto's eyes got big as he looked up at Kohaku in awe. The older man was suddenly reminded why he didn't tell the kid his relation to the Uzumaki yesterday, after seeing his reaction to learning the Uzukage's relation to the first Hokage's wife. He was all wide-eyed, childish innocence and awe at the mention of any of the Kage. Boruto couldn't hold it in. "That's so cool," he screamed. "What was that chain jutsu used? Was it a secret technique only the Uzumaki and her family know? Will you teach it to me?" Kohaku snorted. "A kid like you will never be able to master our clan's greatest sealing technique," he commented. "Unless you actually take your lessons with the Uzumaki seriously instead," he added, and seeing Boruto's look of thunderous determination in the face of adversity. "Ha!" Boruto scoffed. "I'll become the greatest master of sealing jutsu you've ever seen. It'll be you begging me for training when I'm done." Kohaku watched as Boruto scampered off and returned to his room. He heard the distinct pop of an ink jar being opened, followed by a long stream of curses as Boruto apparently spilled the ink. "Good luck, kid," Kohaku uttered under his breath, before turning and going about his duties in the village.